Welcome all to the University of Fort Lauderdale Coaches Corner. We're here with Anthony Anderson, the head men's basketball coach. Coach, I know you're very busy with practice starting. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right, Coach. So I call you the mayor of basketball. You know every head coach, every college coach. How did you end up in South Florida?
Kind of a strange deal because I ended up in South Florida. It goes back to my 2000s, early 2000s. I was at University of Miami. Came down. The group that I was with had an unbelievable run. We were together at Tulane. Left Tulane. I went to University of Texas at Arlington for 2 years, and then came back on the back end of their contract and had the number 5 and number 8 recruiting class in the country. Love South Florida. My kids love South Florida. My wife, she loved South Florida. It was just one of those deals where we end up back here again in 2009 to 2011 with Isaiah Thomas. When he was here, we had those 2 big recruiting classes. And then I was in Connecticut, finishing up a deal there at Central Connecticut. And I was just burnt out as a coach. And I decided I'm going to shut her down and figure out the next phase of my life. And with that being said, I said, look, pick a spot, tell me where you want to go. And they chose Florida. When she chose Florida, and the kids chose Florida, it became a deal where now I'm looking for where we're going to stay and land. Well, I called to tell a guy at Broward College, hey, look, I'm going to give you some free help because I'll be in town and looking for something to do to fill that void of coaching because it's an addiction. Coaching is something where it's a brotherhood, but also you're a mentor, you're a father, and you're a big brother. And that's always going to be with you. You're going to want to keep that going. I called, I got a hold of the AD because I couldn't reach the head coach. The AD said that the coach just resigned. And he was like, well, when are you coming to town? I told him when I was coming to town. He told me, when you get off the plane, can you come straight to me?
Wow.
And I told him, sure. Got off the plane.
You had no idea what he wanted.
I knew what he wanted,
Okay.
But I was like, I didn't know he wanted me to run his program.
Right.
I thought it was, help him out, help him find a coach, get it going, and then, go from there. Well, turns out I was his guy. Walked in, he introduced me, and went from there. And then 2.5 years later, late June, we get the call that they're closing the doors to athletics. Got off the Zoom, again, wondering, where the Lord's going to take me next. 7 minutes later, I got a phone call from a guy, and he's telling me, hey, I'm an athletic director at University of Fort Lauderdale. I'd love to for you to come over and visit with us. I've got a couple of guys call me, and it was the soccer coach, Coach Munga, called him and told him, hey, man, listen, if you get Anderson, you wouldn't have to worry about the men's basketball program. He'd be great for you. And one thing led to another. I never even heard of University of Fort Lauderdale.
Right.
And it was 12 minutes from my house.
Unbelievable.
I told the guy, he said, we'll meet sometime next week. I said, no, we'll meet tomorrow because I wanted to see what he was talking about. And when I got here, there was nothing here.
Right.
We had
the cupboards were bare.
Very, very bare. And it was truly starting from scratch. And here we are,
4 years later. Wow.
Five years.
Yeah, this will be your 5th year. Yeah, exactly. All right, Coach. So I've told the story to you guys. So I want to touch base with you. I know how intense you are. When I was coaching my last year, coaching college basketball, we were 15-2. We were like 3rd in the country. I go out to dinner with friends. We just won a game by 5, and I'm miserable. I am miserable. And my friend said to me, he said, Monty, you're 3rd or whatever we were, 3rd or 4th in the country. You're 15-2. He's like, when are you going to start enjoying this? Right. And you and I have this conversation. Enjoy this one. I know how hard it is. So what do you do? I know you're a grinder 365 days a year. What do you do to enjoy yourself when you're not living, breathing basketball?
That's a good question. No, I'm family oriented. Basketball is a daily routine. Um, it's a part of me. Understanding the players, understanding what they're looking for, how they're doing it. My kids have been intertwined in this deal all my life. It's truly a family oriented deal, and basically, I eat and breathe it.
Right, but I'm saying when you're not talking about basketball, being with your family, having a barbecue. I know you tell me all the time when the kids are together, your wife's the happiest. So would you just say spending time with family is like your downtime?
That's definitely the
Right.
downtime. I mean, but again, we're talking shop, we're talking basketball, we're talking the next move. How can we be better
Yeah. No, I can.
as a group? And when I say it's family oriented, I mean it's intertwined. Everything is intertwined.
I remember on my interview, the last thing I said to all you guys who were interviewing me, I said, "You got to live this 24/7. This can't be a job. It's got to be your life." All right, Coach. One of the things that's really impressive every time I interview one of your basketball players and I talk about goals, they always bring up their grades. You know, Chris Berry will say, "I want to go from a 3.6 to a 3.8." Corey Pope will say the same thing. Everyone here, every coach here has a saying, a poster. Coach Billy is time to lock in. Uh, uh, Damon Cogdale, our head football coach and athletic director, is how you do anything is how you do everything. And yours is you're a student first and athlete second. Talk about how important it is preparing these kids for life after basketball and why you're so focused on academics.
The reason being I stay locked in with the academic piece is because I can take a basketball and wake them up at 2 o'clock in the morning and they'll go bounce it.
Right.
All right. I have those type of kids. But if I go in there and say, hey, look, we're going to read this book at 2 o'clock in the morning, he's going to think something is really wrong with this guy. So what I do is I build a piece centered around what we have to have. There's two things I promise when I talk to a student athlete. I promise a degree and a great college experience because I know the system that we have in place. If you follow it Sunday through Thursday, you're in study hall. If you do those things, you'll get your degree and you'll finish and be working on your master's. So it's been proven. It's not an antiquated system. It's been around for 30 plus years. And before I had it, someone else had it because I stole it from somebody else. We don't reinvent the wheel. We push our guys and try and get the best out of them.
You don't reinvent the wheel, but like I've been around enough coaches to know that, you know, they don't, as long as a kid is getting a 2.0 or 2.5 enough to stay eligible, they're happy. We know you set high standards. Okay, speaking of high standards, Coach, so you took over this program 4 years ago. This is your fifth year. I know how hard it is to get to a Final Four. I know how hard it is to get to the NCAA tournament. You just got your 100th victory on January 2nd. Talk about all the guys, all the coaches that helped you because you're a very confident man, but you always like to give credit to others. What it meant for you to get your 100th win. I think it was either January 2nd or January 6th. I have to check, but you did get your 100th victory this year.
It tells you I had a lot of good players. It's a testament to my players and the family and the culture that we've built. They understand winning. Those guys, they make coaches. And I tell them all the time. And my joy and my excitement with that is watching them go across that stage. That's my joy.
Graduating.
Yes.
Yeah.
No question.
It's amazing because, being at this level, being at the big Division I like a Duke, North Carolina, it's different now because more schools have more money with NIL. But I used to say this when I coached, we never won Coach of the Year. And people would say, well, you didn't win Coach of the Year because you had the best players. Well, no, we went out and got those best players. Talk about the first time you went to the Final Four. You didn't get any award. You won the South Region. You go to the Final Four. And what was the excuse for you not winning that? None of your players, right, got South Region either, right? It was like second team. So how do you not win Coach of the Year when none of your players were first team All South Region and you got to the Final Four? How do you not win Coach of the Year?
I don't know anything about any of that.
Oh,
All I can tell you
I'm
is this.
defending you right
Okay,
here. You
but
should have won the award.
okay, listen. At the end of the day, having the players that I have, we've gotten better over time. They didn't put their footprint down when they should have early on, and it took us a while to get going. That group there, I think they ran off like 7 in a row and then turned around and won 10 in a row.
That's
But it started out where we weren't very good at first, and it took us a while to get going. And people look and they watch, and it's the icon. It's the eye test that you have to pass in the beginning. So it's true when they say the first time you meet somebody,
first impressions.
Those first impressions, they last.
Yeah.
Well, I told guys it's not where you start, it's where you finish.
Yeah.
And we just keep building. And we have a team this year. I'm going to talk about last year's. Last year's group was amazing because they went through some stuff. We lost 2 brothers of players in the process of a long season. And these guys were resilient because they were able to deal with life
and death
and death and all the turns that it has to that it takes you through, and still focus and play a game of basketball. I've got a text message from one of my former players, Faison, and Faze is near and dear to my heart. Just how he played. And I find myself this year saying, hey guys, Faison's not walking through that door. Vanez Woodard is not walking through that door.
Pemberton.
DeAndre Pemberton is not walking through that door. You guys have to step up. And it's funny because now if they hear the way I talk about them, they're like, man, we did it.
Yeah. No, it's funny because you and I have talked about this. You lose 3 seniors. And before we get into that and talk about the upcoming season, I want to talk about the biggest transition I think you've had to make as a coach. Again, I got hired. It'll be my second year here. I got hired in October 2 years ago, late in October. So I started to see your season. I didn't know this. And by talking to you, your biggest adjustment as a coach is for 5 years you had one of your sons playing point guard and extended coach on the floor. And the first year I was here, you kept telling me, I don't have that leader on the floor right now going into training camp. Talk about the adjustment you had to make once your sons graduated and left the program.
Well, I was blessed to have sons that were pretty good. They played at a high level, and the IQ was there. It was different because I coached them and held them to a different standard than I did everybody else. And I used to tell guys, if I put him off and send him to the locker room, what will I do to you?
Yeah.
So it was a treat. It was a treat. I miss those guys just like I miss all my former players. I miss you guys. You guys did a great job. It's a testament, you guys, because we've got 100 and something wins now. But it's all about you guys, and I'm going to keep it about you guys because you make the coach.
So I got hired, and I think the second day I was hired, I went to one of your practices, and you didn't know me, I didn't know you, and I was super intense. My whole thing was make practice in the weight room hell. The games will be fun. And I saw Coach Anderson 10 minutes into practice, sweating, just super intense. 2 days later, I'm with Coach Billy, and Coach Anderson is like, hey, you guys are going out to lunch? I'm going to go with you. He's laughing. He's smiling. I bring this up because I asked his youngest son what it was like playing for him, and he said one time he threw me out of practice early on. We got into a heated argument, and I had to drive home with him. So I think there's going to be a heated argument. And the first thing Coach Anderson says to his son after he threw him out of practice, hey, what do you want to get for dinner? Like, he left it all. And this is who you are. Like, you demand excellence. You're very hard on your guys because you want to bring out the best in them. But off the court, you and I have talked about this. I always took pride in the fact that I would do anything for my players, but you go above and beyond. How do you separate that? Because there are situations that I've had where a player did wrong by me, and I won't talk to them for 2 days outside of practice. You are helping these guys work. You're finding them jobs. You're going. How do you separate that?
It's life. I want them to be able to departmentalize and get it. in life, things happen. You and you have your significant other, things go on. You guys still have to coexist. You guys still have to take your time and make it the next day and the next hour and the next minute. I want them to be able to go into a boardroom, have a conversation, leave that boardroom and go and enjoy their family. And that's what it's about. The 2 hours that I demand on the court, that's on the court. Once we leave the court, everything that was on the court stays on the court. But I want you to remember now, so when we go back to that court,
it's the same intensity.
Yes, we have to get that. And I just want my guys to be successful. I want to be a living example of that.
Yeah, I thought he was like the Joker villain, Two-Face, or Batman villain, Two-Face, because like I didn't know him at all. And I go from, my goodness, this guy's so intense, to being the life of the party when we went to the restaurant. So it was an eye-opener for me. When we come back, we're going to talk about the upcoming season and the past. We're talking with Coach Anthony Anderson here on the Coach's Corner here on the UFTL YouTube channel.
Liberal arts or ministry? Jumpstart your career today by enrolling at University of Fort Lauderdale, one of South Florida's premier Christian institutes of learning. Whether on campus or through online classes, University of Fort Lauderdale has everything to equip and prepare you for the career you are seeking. We offer associate's, bachelor's, and master's degrees in various fields of study through our colleges of business leadership, religious studies, and liberal arts. From Christian counseling to Christian education, from business administration to criminal justice, from broadcasting and theatrical production to information technology. It's all here, and it's waiting for you. Prepare to meet your future head on. Get started on your career path the right way. Financial aid is available. University of Fort Lauderdale, a place where change happens. For more information, visit us at uftl.edu.
All right, we're back live here with Coach Anthony Anderson. Coach, so I look at your team since I've been here for 2 years, like the San Francisco 49ers, the injuries. You will never, ever bring this up, but last year you were one of the best teams in the country. You lose a Jamal Cofer. You lose a Brand who had a freak injury and hurt his calf or ankle, out for the year. My first year here, Bobby McFadden was a phenomenal player. So you never make excuses, but I'm just going to say, despite all your injuries and everything, you continue to put a very good program out there. Again, 2 of the last 4 years, NCAA tournament, Final Four. Now, I just want to talk, you lost three seniors, Benez Woodard, DeAndre Pemberton, and Faison, like you mentioned earlier. What is the challenge here? Because we just talked before we came on the air about your practices and guys, being like a roller coaster, because you don't have someone like a Benez Woodard, like a Pemberton, who knows who you are inside and out, who are with you for years. So what's the challenges with this team that seems to be very talented, but maybe doesn't know how to win or do what upperclassmen ought to do at this point early on in practice?
Well, I'm going to rewind it back a little further than that. Having a coaching staff like I have, those guys do a great job. I mean, I've got a mixture of old and young. Coach Battle, Fred Battle, unbelievable coach, along with Jerry McNeil, unbelievable coach, David Graham, unbelievable coach.
Always working hard.
Yep. Antoine Anderson,
yep.
Just happened to be my middle son, unbelievable coach. And then we added Coach James. Coach James, these guys all get it. And when I tell you with the new group and understanding and trying to get them ready to fill those big shoes that those guys left, we're on the right track and we're pushing. And I like the fact that having a great staff means a lot, because if you don't have a staff that gets it and understands it and able to push to that next level and put that time in, along with having been a player and played in the system, and I say it all the time, all my assistant coaches that ever worked for me, I thank you guys. That 100 win, whatever we've gotten, we did it. We did it along with all the great players. Players make coaches.
So, Coach, going along with, your coaching philosophy, the guys you've had, your players, one of the best recruiting tools you could have is Benez Woodard is now playing overseas. 1,000-point scorer. One thing about Benez, man, he He just game time. He was just a dog, for lack of a better term, or that's the ultimate compliment you give him. Talk about him playing overseas and what that means when you're recruiting and telling players, hey, not only do we go to the Final Four, not only do we go to the NCAA tournament, you can make a living if you put the work in.
No doubt. We're definitely connected. We definitely have the ability to help our guys get to the next level, which means a lot. At the end of the day, you want guys focused on getting that degree, though. You get your degree. That way, when you're done playing, because everybody's going to have to put those shoes up. Those shoes will go up. I call it up on put the tennis shoes on the telephone line. Everybody's going to go through it. And when it does, and when it happens, are you prepared for life after basketball? That's my thing. If I can get you prepared for that, then we're going to be good. Everything else, I call it dessert. Go and play extra. You may play for 10, 20 years. I got a guy that played for me back in 2009. He's still playing at a high level, and he's playing overseas. And if you look the name up, Eric Fredericks, he played for me at FIU. He's still playing right now today, and he's averaging probably around 30-something points a game. But I used to call him a poor man version of Carmelo Anthony. But having great players make great coaches.
Yeah, I had a kid who went overseas, and he played 7 years overseas, came home, became a state trooper, bought a house, got married, paid in cash. People don't realize you don't have to make it to the NBA to make a good living and do what you love to do. Speaking of, or your players and something you're passionate about, every Saturday morning you're here at 7, 8 o'clock a.m., Dare to Care, volunteering, feeding the homeless. Talk about how that started and how your players, they're up early in the morning, but, to a man, I don't see anyone complaining that they're getting up so early because you're doing something that's rewarding and valuable by feeding the homeless. Talk about that.
That's near and dear to my heart. That's teaching my guys how to give back. That's making them accountable and responsible and understanding life in its turns, what may happen, what can happen if you don't do the necessary things. This is why we do certain things. I'm intrigued in how we do things because that lets me know the character. At the end of the day, you can only hide for so long. I want the best out of you. In order to get the best out of you, I have to push you, make you uncomfortable. And if you can thrive in the uncomfortable zone and make it comfortable, then guess what? We got something.
Well, that's how you grow as a person, getting out of your comfort zone. By the way, speaking of growing as a person, Coach Anderson is built like a linebacker, but I got to tell you, my shoulders look almost as big as his, and he is built. So, I'm pretty happy with my shoulders right now, just sitting next to you. All right, Coach. Coach, finally, I want to talk about this season. So, you got a little crazy in you because we went over the schedule, and I'm like, okay, talk about the schedule, why you have – one of the reasons why you got to the NCAA tournament last year, despite so many injuries, was your strength of schedule. You don't take the easy way out. But, Coach, this is my third year here going into the season, and I got to be honest with you, this schedule is really hard. Why did you talk about who you're playing and talk about why this schedule is so hard?
Well, I'm gonna blame my schedule on Dr. Hankerson. We are in a stage now where Dr. Hankerson, he has a vision and a view of men's basketball, and we have to maintain that image. We're going to play this year University of Stetson. We're also playing FIU. We're also playing Florida Gulf Coast at the Division I level. At the Division II level, we're going to the HBCU YES tournament out in the Virgin Islands. Great recruiting tool. I think in order to get the best players, you have to play the best in order to be the best.
Yeah, you want teams to see you and see what you're all about.
No question. We're playing a host of Division II schools. We're also playing Nova Southeastern, which has been state national champs, 2 of the 3 years.
And by the way, if you've never seen Nova Southeastern campus, they have a beer and wine garden at the basketball game. So, that's
what
always,
are we doing here?
That's always, I mean, food, beer, they have food trucks indoors. It is, no, but going back to your point, this all prepares you for the end of the year, right? I was a big believer in playing the tough schedule. So when you get to the NCAA tournament, there's not a team that's going to be like, oh my goodness, they're better than Nova. They're better than an FIU. So you try to prepare your guys mentally so that they go through. And then when you go to the tournament, you're like, guys, there's no one here that is better than this team we played.
But the thing is the NCAA tournament, it'll throw you for a loop now, because you got teams that are NAIA as well as Division II schools that can join that Final Eight. It just depends on who accepts and go from there. I just believe in, if you're prepared, then you should be able to get it done. And this team here, we're a grinder. We're a grinder bunch that the ceiling is high, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this coaching staff, we can help them achieve what we can help them achieve.
Coach, when we did the schedule, we wanted to do some events. Obviously, a little bit challenging here. We play at the Scott Galvin Community Center in North Miami.
45 minutes away.
Yes, but we have, we have a whiteout. We have all sorts of fun things going on.
First game is actually Halloween.
Halloween.
We're going to costume that thing up.
I'm going to dress up as a play-by-play announcer. That's going to be my thing. All right, Coach.
I'm going to be a coach.
So talk about this. We got a couple minutes left real quick. Talk about what you expect from this team. Again, there is a lot of talent there. But again, when you lose three seniors, it's not an excuse. Anyone who's coached, anyone who's played, they know that senior leadership. I talked to you before this. When I was a sophomore in high school, I averaged 17 points a game, but I was the number 2 option. We had a kid who was all state, so he did all the work. My junior year, I averaged more points, more assists, but I was miserable because everything was geared to stopping me. Talk about some of the role players now, like a Corey Pope, like a Chris Berry, who, at times last year would drop 20, get you 5, 6, 7 rebounds. Talk about how they have to step up this year for you to be successful.
Well, the great part about playing in this system is everybody has to guard somebody. If you can guard, we got a chance every night. Offensive end will take care of itself. These guys, they play the right way. I'm looking forward to it. We got some great new additions, pieces to the puzzle. I'm just trying to get them to unlock the door and come with it. Players play every day. Be consistent. If you're that, good things will happen.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we can't wait for the season. I know how hard you work with your coaching staff to get quality players in here. Try to win the right way. Can't wait for the season. Coach, thanks so much for joining us. Remember, the first game is October 31st, Halloween. Come down to the Scott Galvin Community Center. That's where we play our home games. And if not, you can watch it here on YouTube. Coach, thanks so much. This was so much fun. We're going to do this throughout the season, get some of your players on as well. And we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in the immortal words of Arnold Schwarzenegger. We'll be back.
Liberal arts or ministry? Jumpstart your career today by enrolling at University of Fort Lauderdale, one of South Florida's premier Christian institutes of learning. Whether on campus or through online classes, University of Fort Lauderdale has everything to equip and prepare you for the career you're seeking. We offer associate's, bachelor's, and master's degrees in various fields of study through our colleges of business leadership, religious studies, and liberal arts. From Christian counseling to Christian education, from business administration to criminal justice.